Thank y'all so much.
On payroll. Outside, when you guys go out, you will find a booklet like this where outside you will find a booklet like this where you will find information of all the things that I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to hit some main points here. If we could start, please. The next. Oh, you have to click right. Okay. The first one is who to call. On the booklet, you will find a complete list of who to call in human resources. The key persons that you need to know are listed here. First is me, Payroll. The next person will be Ana Salinas at Employment Processing. She's in charge of the new hires, the rate changes. So if you have any questions regarding that, that's who you have to call. The next person would be Benefits, which is Ann Irving. If you have questions about your health insurance or your medical insurance, she's the one to answer those questions. And then we have Michelle Grouch, who's in charge of family medical leave, or if you're out for any reason on extended leave, you need to contact her so she can let us know that you're back so we can put you back in the system. Okay, personal leave. There's a few questions about personal leave. One of the things is that personal leave is earned by 10 and 11-month employees. 12-month employees earn annual leave. Most of you here are 11 months, so you earn personal leave. You earn 3 days of personal leave each year. We give you these 3 days at the beginning of the fiscal year, which is July 1st. If you work 8 hours, you will get 4 hours of personal leave. Okay, this is where it gets sometimes a little tricky. In 1 year, you cannot have more than 6 days of personal leave. So what that means is that on June 30th, if you have 6 hours of personal leave, which is 3 from that year and 3 from the previous year, on July 1st, you will get another 3 additional days. So that will be 9. So what we do is take 3 days and put them to your sick leave. Okay. In 1 year, you cannot have more than 6 days of personal leave. So on June 30th, in 1 year, you cannot have more than 6 days of personal leave. So on June 30th, if you have 6 days, on July 1st, you will receive another 3 days. That makes it 9 days. So what we do is we transfer 3 of those days to your sick leave. So you can only have 6 days in 1 year. About annual leave, this is for 12-month employees. If you work all year round, you earn 4 hours of, usually people who work 12 months, you work 8 hours a day. So you earn 4 hours each paycheck. And this is for Darlene's, she had a question earlier. At the end of the year, you can only have a maximum of 40 days of annual leave. On July 1st, you will earn more leave. So any extra leave that you have over 40 days will be transferred to your sick leave. But you can ask for an extension. There's an email that's sent to employees around May, letting you know if you want to request extension, and you have to fill that form out. That way we can give you until August 31st to take your leave. The other point is that when for example, you have 60 days of annual leave, you can only carry over 40. So 20 days are extra. 14 days, up to 14 days, we can put them in your sick leave. And then 6 days will be lost. Okay, about sick leave. Um, Most of you here work 6 hours a day, so you will earn 3 hours per check of sick leave. If you work 8 hours, then it will be 4 hours. Okay, for the sick leave, there's no limit on accruing sick leave. You can have an unlimited number of sick leave hours or days. Overtime. Most of you here work 6 hours per day, so any time worked above the 6 hours is paid as overtime. The difference is any hours worked from 31 to 40 hours are paid at regular rate, and anything above 40 is paid at time and a half. So some people get confused on this, so that's why I put there that all hours get paid, because some people think we're not paying them if they don't go above 40. You are, it's just that you do pay at your regular rate. The overtime has a different schedule. So in your booklet, you will find this calendar, and then we also have it on our website, that the pay dates are the pay dates, the pay period, and then the overtime schedule. The overtime is different. So please look at that schedule before you think you're not getting paid for your extra hours. The pay stubs. You will find a copy of an hourly pay stub and a salary pay stub on your booklet. And I just marked there the different sections because a lot of people get confused because there's a lot of information there. So I sort of labeled them saying what they mean and what they are. So if you read them, they're like self-explanatory. And the next one is the salary pay stub. One thing that people miss a lot on the salary pay stub is the leave taken, which is always on the second page at the bottom. That's where it shows how much leave you took on the previous pay period. These are some frequently questions that we have about overtime. I just give you the answers, so I don't know if someone wants to try to answer that, how overtime is calculated. Anybody wants to answer that? Okay. What does working hour mean? That's a little confusing. Let's say we have a week where we have a holiday. You get paid for the holiday, so you get your salary. But that day that we have the holiday, those hours are not being counted as worked hours because you're not working. So if you work extra time, if you usually work 30 hours in 1 week and there's a holiday, you're only going to be able to work 24 hours. So in order to go over 40, it will take more hours. And that's where people get confused. And once again, please refer to the schedule about overtime, because sometimes it pays differently. Sometimes you have to wait an extra pay period to get paid for some hours. Okay, a lot of people think sometimes that their pay is incorrect. Please, the first thing you should do is check your pay stub. And the other thing is, if you're missing overtime hours, check the overtime schedule. If we found a mistake and you were missing hours or overtime hours, we will make the correction and it will not be added to your regular salary or to your hours. You will find a line that says APJ reduced hours. Or another one that would say overtime adjustment. Those are the corrections that we're making to your pay. Okay. If there is an error in your check, please contact your timekeeper. She should be the first person to be contacted. But you also need to have information of when you work those hours and how many hours you missed. this will help the timekeeper find out or research. And if the information, if the hours are missing, we will pay you those hours. She will send a memo to me at Payroll and we'll process them for the next pay. I'll answer questions in a minute. I just want to say the last thing that this process is a little complicated. Information goes through a lot of hands and through the system. So one way that you as an employee can help us is to please, track your hours on your own and then make sure you write your timesheet legibly that we can read it, please. Write your full name, your ID number. We need your name, ID number, and then the amount of hours you worked. Somehow, people are in a rush. Please write them. Take your time so we can read it and we don't make mistakes. And then also, please try to turn in information on time. And now I can answer any questions that you might have.
If there are mistakes made on the paycheck and you find that the time wasn't put in, why do we have to wait another 2 weeks to get our money?
It depends. If it's less than $100, we ask you to please wait until the next pay. But if it's more, we usually do a quick pay. Anybody else have questions? She wants to know who determines how much taxes should be taken out of your check. That information comes from the W-4 form that you fill out, telling us how many dependents you're claiming. That determines how much taxes will be taken out.
Just covered it. I want to know, you said you take out this so many personal leave and put it into sick leave. Like for instance, if you're accumulating, you get three extra hours. If you have 300 and something days personal leave, you might have 36 sick leave days. That 300 of personal leave, you said you put some of it in the sick leave. You get paid for that? What happens to our money for that?
Okay, personally, you earn 3 days of personal leave each year, but you cannot have more than 6 days in 1 year. So if you get to a point where you have more than 6, anything extra, anything above 6 days is transferred to your sick leave. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you said that if you have 200 personal
You cannot get to 200. If you have 6 hours of personal leave, yeah, the maximum will be 36. So if you're going to talk about hours, the maximum hours you can have in 1 year is 36.
So what happens to that?
It's transferred to sick leave. It's transferred to your sick leave. Anybody else has questions? Can you be quiet, please? I'm sorry, I cannot hear the question.
We never check our time. Like me, I never check my time. I always assuming I'll get the right, pay. And how often yeah, how often the mistakes happen on the payroll?
Can't hear. She said how often Chase made payroll because she does not check her paycheck. She never checks.
That's not an easy question to answer. All I can tell you that it goes through a process and we do our best. So that's why the best person to check on your time is you. If you find any mistakes, we will fix it. We do have audits to try to catch problems before that. But I don't think it's for your benefit to check information. It's not that mistakes are done all the time.
under $100, it's going to be transferred. You won't get the money until your next pay period if it's $100. If it's under $100, why is that? If money is money, if it's not our mistake, it's your mistake.
Because it's not that we can write checks. Also, there's a process for that, and it needs to go to the county. So they're supposed to we're supposed to have certain procedures and certain limits, and that's what they wrote down. Yes.
So we got paid for holidays, can you state those holidays that we got paid for?
I'm sorry?
Do we get paid for holidays? Can you state what days of holidays that we got paid for?
If you look at, I think you guys received your calendar. There it tells you all the days that you work, and all those days, which is 222 for most of you, is divided into 24 pays. So that's why you get the same amount each check. It's not that one check is less than the other.
So it's no holiday paid.
Some holidays are paid. I would refer to.
Like Christmas Day, New Year.
I would refer to the calendar. The transfer of leave is done between June 30th and July 1st, at the beginning of the fiscal year. So if you're leaving, let's say June 30th, we would have to look at your case. But if you leave during the mid-year, it's very clear how much annual leave you have and how much we will pay you.
Me personally, I just had a baby in May, and it was some of my people I work with that wanted to donate leave to me, and in that process, I had to go through like this huge process of getting the paper shipped down to transportation for them to donate the leave. The paper never got transferred down to transportation. I lost out on weeks of what people were going to donate to me. And I just want to know the full-blown process as far as that goes. I was hearing two sides of the story where it came from, and I tried to contact everybody in the White House as much as I can, but I was hearing this story, that story. You got to email this paper to that person, and it was just chaos. So what's the procedure of having people donate leave to you while you're out on family medical?
Okay, well, one second. Okay, the procedure is that you need to contact Ramona Harrison, and she will give you a form, or you have to have something written requested to her. It needs to be approved by the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and then it's given to Payroll, who receives the donations. That's the process.
Well, that process was never done. The letter was written. It was faxed over to them. So that the paper was going to be shipped down to the train station and I feel like it was thrown to the side.
I think for individual questions like yours, like we can answer a question about the general process. We don't have the history, but I'm happy to look into your concern on sick leave donations after. If you want to give me a call at 6103, that would be fine. But in general, what happens again is after the assistant superintendent approves you for leave donations, she sends something is sent by Michelle Brock to your supervisor. Your supervisor then goes to your team and solicits the donations on your behalf. So it wouldn't be that you would need to go and ask your coworkers. It should be coming from the supervisor. People will then come forward and say they want to donate, and that goes to payroll, and they then will add the days going forward.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else has questions.
If I go out on sick leave and I run out of sick leave, do you automatically use my personal leave for any additional days I'm still out? And then reverse, if you go out on FML, do all types of leave get used?
Okay, okay, for the first part of the question, if you're out on sick leave and you run out of sick leave, yes, automatically we do use your personal leave because we don't want you to be short on your check. And then if you're on family medical leave, we try to use all the leave that you have available. First sick leave and then personal or annual leave.
Quickly, is the same true for if you go out on personal leave? If you're out on personal leave and you run out of personal leave, do you automatically take my sick leave?
No, because if you look at read at the policies, it tells you when to use sick leave and when to use personal leave. So if you run out of personal leave, you'll be charged leave without pay.
Okay.
I was out, like the young lady in front, I was out too, for 2 months. And I went through the same process like she did. And I handwritten, and I gave it to you, for you to send down to my employees too, for help at work. They never received any of it. And I was out for 2 months.
So it sounds like there could be a question of how sick leave donations are being solicited in transportation generally. Not going to get, again, to individual situations, but we can follow up with transportation and the supervisors to talk about what that process is. I know you're now headed by an amazing process mapper. So if we need to look at how we're handling sick leave donations and transportation, it sounds like we can certainly sit down and look at that process to make sure it's going more smoothly, okay?
I have a question about your medical leave. You say 12 weeks, right?
Family medical leave is 12 weeks.
Yeah. I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I never use it. Is there a way people being approved, not approved? Or is this for everybody?
Family medical leave, you have to be eligible. So there are federal guidelines as to who's eligible for family and medical leave, and you have to have worked for APS for 1 full year, and you have to have worked a certain number of hours. The hours is 1,250. That's federal over the prior year. So we will send you a notice because we're required to by law to say you are or you are not eligible to take family medical leave. If you're not eligible to take family medical leave, because maybe you've only been here for 6 months, but you're sick and need to be out, we do have a leave of absence that allows you to go out for 12 weeks, up to 12 weeks, or till the end of the school year if you are ill and need to be away from work. That's kind of how we solve the problem that we know not everyone is going to be eligible for family medical leave.
Let me say, the person is working for more than a year, has been here, but there is a certain type of hours they must.
Right. You have to have the federal law says get family medical leave if you work 1,250 hours. So if you haven't met those hours over the previous year, you're not going to fall under family and medical leave.
So that means if you don't take any leave before that, you will be approved.
If you meet the hours, if you've worked the hours and the time. Yeah. You should be, well, you'll be approved if it meets, you have to meet the family medical leave reasons as well. So it's if you are ill or your family member is ill, it's only certain family members and your illness has to meet certain qualifications. Yeah. There are all these guidelines that we look at to make sure you qualify.
Okay. They're passing out a booklet where it has all this information of what you guys are asking. We have all the PIPs and all the information that you guys might need. If there's any information that is not here, please feel free to contact me. My information is in here. Okay, thank you.